Chapter 689. Shen Miao was discouraged. Xie Jingxing did not lack money, but after gifting so many expensive-looking jewelry, could it be that she had to specially buy a batch of gorgeous clothes for these jewelry? Even if she bought it, she would find it cumbersome to wear. After thinking about it, he felt that this jade bracelet was the simplest. There were needles hidden inside, so it looked relatively simple. Even so, Luo Shuiyan still praised the water quality. It could only be said that Xie Jingxing's gift was the same as him, not knowing how to be low-key. While she was slightly distracted, Su Mingfeng's expression became solemn, and before Shen Miao could react, he held Shen Miao's hands and said, "One have offended." Shen Miao subconsciously wanted to withdraw her hand, but Su Mingfeng held it very tightly. Moreover, he did not directly hold Shen Miao's wrist, and there was a layer of sleeves separating it, making the posture very strange. Shen Xiao and Luo Ling's eyes turned cold at the same time. Shen Xiao said, "Gentleman Su, you are too impetuous." Su Minglang's eyes widened. This was probably the first time he heard someone say that his big brother was rash. But Su Mingfeng quickly released his hands and cupped his hands towards Shen Miao. Just now this one was rude. Apologies. After all, he did not do anything, so Shen Miao would not mind about these. She just did not know what Su Mingfeng had discovered. In the next moment, she heard Su Mingfeng asking, "One dare to ask, fifth young lady, where did this tiger head bracelet come from?" Shen Miao's heart thumped, and Luo Tan and the rest were already dumbfounded. Su Mingfeng was a dignified male. Why would he ask where did the accessories on a female's hands came from? Even Su Minglang's gaze towards Su Mingfeng was somewhat strange. Su Mingfeng was unmoved and still looked at Shen Miao seriously, as if he was very insistent on waiting for Shen Miao's answer. Shen Miao regained her senses and smiled. "I bought it from a traveling merchant who came from afar. He said that it was an imported product. I did not expect Master Su to recognize it." "Is this bracelet called the Tiger Head bracelet?" Su Mingfeng's expression was somewhat disappointed for a moment, but in a moment he picked himself up and said, "Correct. It is called Tiger Head Hoop. Is Fifth Miss willing to part with this Tiger Head bracelet and sell it to me?" Cough, cough. Luo Tan choked on her own saliva. The people in the Ding capital were so strange that the handsome youth in front of them actually liked to buy female jewelry. It was said that some rich families had some strange hobbies. For example, some people liked to collect women's undergarments, and some people liked to put on women's rouge. It seemed that young Master Su liked women's jewelry. Su Minglang, eldest brother, do you want to buy this tiger head bracelet for a young lady? Upon hearing this, Shen Xiao and Luo Ling instantly understood, and Luo Tan was also surprised. So it was not that she liked it, but wanted to buy it for her beloved young lady. As Shen Miao's thoughts turned, she smiled slightly and said, "This is after all my personal jewelry. No matter if it is bought, sold, or gifted, it would not be appropriate for it to be in the hands of an outsider. If you wanted it at UI1, Ling Chen Su, I of Ling of Chun of I that. I. Shun, that's she. Shun had she, and said, even two. If I give my own jewelry to an outsider, what would others think? No way. Shen Xiao also nodded his head. Correct. This matter concerned his younger sister's reputation. Not a single jewelry could go wrong. Su Mingfeng could only smile awkwardly, since that is the case. Then one can only regret. After saying a few more polite words, Su Mingfeng brought Su Minglang to bid farewell to Shen Miao and entourage. Just as they were about to leave, Su Mingfeng suddenly thought of something and looked at Shen Miao. He hesitated for a moment before asking, "Has fifth young lady seen the little Marquis of the residence of the Marquis of Linen, the Xie family?" Chapter 690. Shen Miao was startled, and the few people around her were also startled. Everyone knew that Xie Jingxing had been dead for 2 years. Was this Su Mingfeng crazy? Shen Miao laughed in spite of herself. How can I see that the little Marquis of the Xie family died young? Does young Master Su have some prejudice against me and is sincerely cursing me? Su Mingfeng no longer said anything, and this time he really brought Su Minglang far away. When the crowd could no longer see both of their figures, Luo Tan then touched her shoulders and said, "Have goosebumps all over." Youngest Biao's sister. Why would that person ask you if you have seen a dead person without rhyme or reason? Shen Miao said, he must be possessed. I think so too. Luo Tan deeply agreed. Shen Xiu frowned. Less contact with the Su family in the future. What did he say that Shen Miao had seen a dead person, and where did she see it? Why did he want to see it? For no rhyme or reason. One would get a body full of bad luck. But why did he ask you? Luo Tan asked curiously. Could it be that youngest Biao's sister and that little Marquis Xia have any friendship? Absolutely no connection, and do not have any contact. Shen Miao answered with 8 words. Luo Ling looked at her in surprise. What Shen Miao did not know was that on this day, Su Mingfeng, who saw the tiger head bracelet on her wrist, was restless the entire day. Even Su Yu also sensed that something was wrong with Su Mingfeng and even asked him what was wrong. Now the Count of Pingnan's Su family had tried their best to keep a low profile, and everyone knew that the court was in a turbulent situation and one should not get involved in the muddy waters. Now the Su family was used to such carefree days, and Su Mingfeng did not enter officialdom. So who was he showing a straight face to? When Su Mingfeng ate, he only vaguely said a few words and hastily took 2 bites before returning to his room. Su Yu and Su Foreign looked at each other in dismay. Su Foreign asked, what is wrong with him? Su Yu shook his head. Su Foreign simply asked her youngest son, Su Ming Lang, who did you meet with when you went out with your eldest brother today? Su Ming said heartlessly as he picked up the food, one met with older sister Shen. Older brother asked older sister Shen for jewelry, but older sister Shen did not give. Older sister Shen said that it was against the rules and older brother was not happy. Madame Su and Su Yu gasped. Su Minglang's words were without rhyme or reason, but in their ears, it was that Su Mingfeng was close to the young lady of the Shen family, and the young lady of the Shen family felt that her reputation was damaged, and Su Mingfeng was angry. Su Foreign put down her chopsticks and asked, let me ask you, the older sister of the Shen family that you mentioned, is it the 5th young lady of the Shen families? Now that the 2nd and 3rd household of the Shen family were executed, naturally, it would not be Shen Yu. Shen Qing had died 2 years ago. Shen Dongling had exchanged marriage to the Wang family, and the unmarried Shen family's older sister was Shen Miao. Forgive Su Foreign for thinking of the formidable great generals Shen family first, since the Shen family was the most famous in the Ding capital. Su Minglang nodded his head hard. This time, so you could no longer sit still. He pointed at Su Minglang with a trembling finger and said, your big brother is asking for jewelries? Su Minglang's head nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. The couple looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. Logically speaking, Su Mingfeng would be 23 soon after the new year, and normal people would have already gotten married and would have a son earlier. But one did not know what was wrong with their own family's head that he was not willing to marry. In the early years, there was Xie Jingxing from the residence of the Marquis of Lin and who followed Su Mingfeng. Su Yu was not worried at all, as he knew that Xie Jingxing was someone who amused young ladies, and it would not be wrong to follow this Xie Jingxing. Once Xie Jingxing died, his own son could directly become a monk. In these 2 years, he did not see anyone who was interested in any young lady. No matter if one had high standards or not, if this carried on, the Su family's husband and wife would suspect that Su Mingfeng was gay. Chapter 691. Now hearing Su Minglang say that both husband and wife were half gratified and half in a difficult position. She was gratified that Su Mingfeng was still a normal male and liked females. The difficult thing was that Su Mingfeng took a fancy to any family's young lady, but it was Shen Xian's daughter. Shen Xian held great power in his hands, and by marrying Shen Xian, if one day Emperor Hui was prepared to deal with Shen Xian, the Su family would also be unlucky. Could it be that he had managed to escape from one pit of fire with great difficulty, but now he was going to jump into another pit of fire? Just thinking about it gave him a headache. It was still Su Foreign who was considerate and said, don't be anxious. Ming Lang's words are unclear. If Mingfeng really liked the young lady of the Shen family, he would definitely express it. Jin Feng, go and call all the servants in eldest young master's courtyard. I have something to ask them. In the room, Su Mingfeng was pacing back and forth. He was not mistaken. Even if it was only for a short period of time, it was enough for him to see and feel clearly. The jade bracelet on Xin Miao's wrist was obviously the tiger head bracelet. There were a total of 2 tiger head bracelets. One was in the hands of Princess Rong Xian, and the other appeared on Xin Miao's wrist. Su Mingfeng had always thought that the second one would not appear because Xie Jingxing was dead. Under the heavens, only Xie Jingxing knew how to make tiger head bracelets. At that time, Su Mingfeng and Xie Jingxing were still miserably green youths who walked around Mahjong Tai. One day, she saw Xie Jingxing holding something that looked like a bracelet and rubbed it, and even ridiculed him. In fact, he was very curious in his heart. Su Mingfeng understood Xie Jingxing. Even though Xie Jingxing was handsome and beautiful and frivolous, he had no interest in these gorgeous ornaments, not to mention female items. Under his curiosity, Su Mingfeng asked, and Xie Jingxing rolled his eyes at him and only said that it was a concealed weapon. Afterwards, Su Mingfeng pestered Xie Jingxing until he was impatient. So Xie Jingxing showed him that the bracelet was made into 2 bracelets that were connected together. There were hidden weapons inside, and there were poisonous needles that could be used for self-defense. Su Mingfeng felt that it was very interesting and wanted it. Xie Jingxing despised. This is for females to use. Who are you wearing this bracelet for? Su Mingfeng then quieted down. Afterwards, one saw Xie Jingxing giving the bracelet to Princess Rong Xian. Ever since the death of Princess Yuqing, Princess Rong Xian doted on Xie Jingxing very much, and Xie Jingxing had a deep relationship with her, so it was understandable for him to be gifted to Princess Rong Xian. Why was it called the tiger head hoop? It was because Xie Jingxing carved a tiger's head on it that his carving skills were not flattering as it was as ugly as a dog's. Su Mingfeng kept on ridiculing, but Princess Rong Xian liked it very much. Xie Jingxing became interested and said that he wanted to carve another one. However, that jade material was very difficult to find, so he had not been able to find it. It was until 2 years ago when Su Mingfeng found a piece from the hands of a wealthy merchant, but the jade material was not as good as the previous one. There were shallow white marks, but one could still see it if one looked at it seriously. Before Xie Jingxing set off, he took that piece of jade and said that if he was bored along the way, he would make a tiger head bracelet. Who knew that once he left, he would be separated forever? As for the tiger head bracelet on Xin Miao's hand, there were faint white marks on the jadeite material under the sunlight. It was the same mechanism, the same workmanship, and that ugly carving was exactly the same as Xie Jingxing's. Xie Jingxing left the capital 2 years ago, and Xin Xian went to the northwest region 2 years ago. Xin Xian left first, and Xie Jingxing left after that, and when Xie Jingxing left, he still had that piece of jade material. Could it be that Xun Miao and Xie Jingxing had met each other in these 2 years? But at that time, Xie Jingxing was already dead. Moreover, the carving on the bracelet was not old, and seemed to be polished not long ago, as it was not smooth enough. Su Mingfeng's heart was thumping, and he raised his hand to summon his servant. Call a few people to guard at the entrance of Xun Xian's residence, and observe the movements of the 5th Xin young lady. It is also good to bribe the servants in the Xin mansion. I want to know every move of the 5th Xin young lady. Su Mingfeng naturally did not know how much of a shock his words would cause to Master Su and Su Foreign's ears. Heavens, Su Yu said, Mingfeng really has deep feelings for this female. I originally thought that no matter how one looked at Mingfeng, he would not do such a rash action like snatching others' jewelry. One thought that it was Ming Lang speaking nonsense, and did not think that it was true. Su Foreign's head hurt, and she drank a mouthful of tea before saying, how is it that he was so reserved previously, but now it is like a different person, still bribing others' informants? This is not the way to chase a young lady. What is the difference between him and those brats outside who cannot be seen in public? Perhaps it is because of his good feelings. Su Yu somewhat sighed. This child is like me, long affections. Su Foreign rolled her eyes at him. According to this, if one does not let Mingfeng marry, would Mingfeng not die of disgust? One must first send an invitation to the Shun residence. Send an invitation for what? Su Yu was puzzled. What else can it be? to find a wife for your son. Su Furin's words were shocking. Chapter 692. The wind blew in the night, and it was unusually cold. In the residence of Prince Rue, Gao Yang was reading a letter that was delivered with relish. Shen Miao lived in the Shen mansion, and even though there were many soldiers in the Shen family, and the guards were not weak due to various reasons, there were still dangers lurking around, and one did not dare to relax. Xie Jingxing transferred a secret guard from the MOU army to quietly follow Shen Miao, so as to avoid any accidents. This secret guard, called Song Yang, was originally a spy in the MOU army. His skills were top-notch, and his information gathering was also top-notch. It was just that he had a problem, which was that he was a chatterbox. Every day he would report to Xie Jingxing what Shen Miao did, and in this letter it was written who Shen Miao saw today and what she said. Basically, other than going to the toilet and bathing, everything else was written in detail. Gao Yang felt that this was quite abnormal, but Song Yang was such a cautious person. When he saw that Shen Miao and entourage met Su Mingfeng on the streets in the afternoon, his expression changed. Even though he did not know what Su Mingfeng had discovered, but Su Mingfeng and Xie Jingxing had such a long friendship, and this kind of strange action was not good. Just as he was thinking about it, Ji Yushu passed by from the back while biting an apple. When he saw Gao Yang in a daze with a piece of paper, he took a glance, but the main point was skewed. He said, "Ah, so that Biao young lady of the Shen family likes Su Mingfeng." Gao Yang was so shocked by Gao Yang that he almost fell off the stone bench. When he recovered to his senses, he said angrily, "What is the fuss for? You're too timid." Ji Yushu patted his shoulder. "Don't use your fan all day long. Practicing martial arts is the right way." Finishing, he returned to the original topic. Young Lady Luo and young Master Su are quite compatible, and third older brother has a relationship with both sides. Why not be a matchmaker on another day? Gao Yang frowned. Which eyes of yours saw that they are compatible? Moreover, who said that Luo Tan likes Su Mingfeng? Both my eyes saw that they are compatible. Ji Yushu said, and pointed to a line of words on the letter to Gao Yang. You see, young Lady Luo said to Su Mingfeng, worthy of being two brothers. Both are equally good-looking. Let's not talk about Su Minglang, but young Lady Luo was using this method to express goodwill to Su Mingfeng. Otherwise, why would you praise someone for being good-looking? Luckily, Song Yang was a chatterbox, and not only did he write Shen Miao's words, he also included Luo Tan's words. Ji Yushu was considered to be a talent, as he was able to see this sentence in such a full page of paper. Gao Yang suppressed the slight displeasure in his heart and said, "Boring. You don't understand." Ji Yushu snatched the fan from Gao Yang's hands and imitated Gao Yang's unfathomable manner as he waved it and said with an "I'm the smartest" look, "Only this young master who has seen all kinds of flowers can see the true heart of a young female. What do you know, if you fawn on me, I can consider teaching you." Achoo! In the cold winter, Feng Ji Yushu sneezed as he was fanning himself. Gao Yang snatched the fan back and ignored him. Just as they were talking, Xie Jingxing came back from outside, followed by Tai Yi and Nanqi. It was unknown where they came from, but they looked travel-worn. Third older brother. Ji Yushu greeted him warmly, but Xie Jingxing did not even look at him and walked into the room with a cold face. Nanqi and Tai Yi also had a solemn expression. Ji Yushu did not notice that Xie Jingxing was in a bad mood and continued, "Third older brother, something happened to fifth Shen young lady." Xie Jingxing's footsteps paused and frowned as he looked at him. Gao Yang also looked at Ji Yushu. Ji Yushu cleared his throat and said seriously, "Just looked at the news that Song Yang sent back for you. Today when fifth Shen young lady went out, she met with a lecher, and that lecher touched fifth Shen young lady's little hand." Chapter 693. Gao Yang face-bombed and heard Ji Yushu asking again, "Does third older brother know who is this audacious lecher?" Naturally, no one responded to him, causing Nanqi and Tai Yi to be extremely nervous. Fifth Shen young lady was the person that their master fancied. So who had the guts to actually touch fifth Shen young lady's hand? Ji Yushu said heartbreakingly, "It is Su Mingfeng." It was third older brother's sworn brother, Su Mingfeng. We're all brothers. Yet he actually tried to steal third brother's woman. How heartless, unjust, and shameless. Nanqi and Tai Yi were stunned. Xie Jingxing's eyes were cold, and Gao Yang simply used his fan to cover his face. He did not want to see Ji Yushu's demonic behavior in front of so many people. The lamp was as small as a bean, and Xin Miao was bored to death reading under the lamp. From time to time, she would raise her eyes to look at the windows. In the cold weather, the windows were wide open. Xin Miao guessed that Xie Jingxing had planted people in the Shun mansion, but she did not care. Shen Xian and Luo Shui Yin usually did not work in the residence, much less Shen Xiu. There were no secrets in the Shen mansion, so it would not matter if Xie Jingxing's people came. Moreover, there was an additional person to guard the door, so one could just treat it as a free guard. Since Xie Jingxing's people were paying attention to every move at this end, the action of opening the window should be reported to his master that she had something to wait for Xie Jingxing. Shun Miao thought left and right, and felt that it was not a good thing to meet Su Mingfeng on the streets today. Su Mingfeng and Xie Jingxing's relationship was very good. One had to know that when Su Mingfeng died, only Xie Jingxing dared to collect his corpse and was not afraid of the wrath of the imperial family of Mingqi. Thus one knew that both of them were best friends. Since they were best friends, they understood each other. Today Su Mingfeng noticed her bracelet and said that it was a tiger head bracelet. It was definitely not something that was said casually and definitely had some relation with Xie Jingxing. Xin Miao also did not know how many people in Mingqi knew about Xie Jingxing's identity. But seeing Su Mingfeng's performance today, Su Mingfeng did not know about it. If Su Mingfeng knew that Xie Jingxing did not die, one did not know if there would be trouble in the future. As he was lost in his thoughts, he heard a sound from the window. He looked up and saw that the purple-robed young man had already entered the room with ease. He even closed the window to prevent the wind from blowing in. Xie Jingxing strode over and sat in front of the table. The tea on the table was still warm and not cold. Xie Jingxing poured himself a cup of tea. It was so familiar that it was as if he was in his own house. Xin Miao ignored the strange feeling in her heart and also drank a mouthful of tea before saying, "Today I am looking for you because of a matter." "What is it?" Xie Jingxing curled his lips and asked. After hesitating for a moment, Xin Miao then said, "Su Mingfeng might have sensed that you were still alive." Xie Jingxing was silent. Xin Miao stretched out her wrist, and the jade bracelet on her wrist was lustrous and translucent, making her wrist look even more slender and fair. She said, "Today Su Mingfeng saw this bracelet on my hand on the streets and said something about tiger head bracelet and asked if I have seen you before. I think that there should be some origin. Perhaps he also guessed that you are still alive." Xie Jingxing frowned slightly. He was originally born well, but his usual smile that was not a smile made one feel intoxicated. At this moment when he did not speak, one would feel a cold feeling hitting one's face. Xin Miao thought that Xie Jingxing was now a great Liang person, and with the identity of Prince Rui, he had to wear a silver mask so that others would not discover his true identity. Who knew that her negligence would be detected by Su Mingfeng? Even if Su Mingfeng was Xie Jingxing's good friend, it was inevitable that he would be used by others. If it brought trouble to Xie Jingxing, Xie Jingxing had helped her so much, and she would be giving trouble to Xie Jingxing. Xin Miao's heart felt a little guilty. She deliberated, why not? Think of a way to remedy it. Chapter 694. Impossible. Xie Jingxing flatly rejected her proposal. Su Mingfeng and I have known each other for many years, and his character is cunning and intelligent. It cannot be hidden. Xin Miao had a headache, but her heart was somewhat blaming Xie Jingxing. Since this tiger head bracelet had such a history, then one should not casually give it to others, all right? Unfortunately, she was wearing that tiger head bracelet today. Thus Su Mingfeng happened to see it. Then what should be done? Even if Xin Miao was intelligent, she did not know what to do. Everyone had their own specialties. She didn't know how to conceal her identity. Xie Jingxing shook his head. So be it if discovered. No need to bother about it. Will this not bring you trouble? Xin Miao frowned and asked. The Su family is after all an official family of Mingqi, and you are a great Liang person. Perhaps he would think that you are a spy sent by the enemy country. There will be endless troubles. It was not that Shun Miao thought badly of others, but it was like this. For a little benefit, the sisters in the inner palace would kill each other, not to mention that this was related to the interests of the two countries. The friendship between friends was the most precious. Thus it could not tolerate deception and was the most fragile. Xie Jingxing slowly looked at her, and his lips suddenly curled up as he said, "Are you worried about me?" Shin Miao was surprised for a moment before saying, "I am concerned about myself." She paused before adding another sentence. "I am now on the same boat as you. If you were to be discovered, it is difficult to guarantee that I would not be dragged out and the Shun family would also be dragged down. The gains do not make up for the losses." Xie Jingxing found it somewhat funny. "Do not worry. One will not lose out by being allies with this prince." Shin Miao was used to his arrogance and did not put his words to heart. It was just that she suddenly thought of something and said, "Speaking of which, you really do not intend to stop Su Mingfeng? How long do you think I need to wear my mask?" Xie Jingxing suddenly asked. Shin Miao did not understand his meaning and did not speak. "Sooner or later my identity will be known," Xie Jingxing lightly said. "If it is not Su Mingfeng, it would be others." Shin Miao was shocked and somewhat puzzled before asking, "Then have you ever thought that if your identity was known, your loved ones would think? The Marquis of Lin and Princess Rong Xian, Su Mingfeng, and the others. Even if others knew about it, they would at most be surprised. But how would Xie Jingxing's close family and friends think?" Xie Jingxing would face the doubts of his closest family, which even Shin Miao did not dare to imagine. Even if she was betrayed and hurt in her previous life, she was still on the same side as the Shin family. But after Xie Jingxing's identity was revealed, that he was Prince Rui of the Great Liang, the situation became much more complicated. Xie Jingxing smiled casually. "So what if I know?" He said, "There is no harm in the world hating me." He looked at Shin Miao, and there was some evilness in his smile. "I am not afraid." But one did not know why. Shin Miao felt somewhat sad when she saw his smile. She felt that this handsome and beautiful young man was not as heartless as he looked. Shin Miao was still thinking about it when Xie Jingxing suddenly touched her head and said, "Do not take off the bracelet. Since it is given to you, one is not afraid of others recognizing it." Shin Miao actually did not like people touching her head. What would it look like if the Empress of a country was touched by others? Even if Shin Xiu touched her head, Shin Miao would also be unhappy, but today she allowed Xie Jingxing to do it for the first time. She sighed in her heart. Today there was no need to haggle so much. Xie Jingxing stood up, "Thought that you came over because of an urgent matter. If there is nothing, I will leave first." He said, "In the future if there is any problem, just call Song Yang. He is now your secret guard, so there is no need to open the window and wait for me. I will wake you up when I reach." He said it naturally, and Shun Miao did not feel that there was anything wrong. It was until Xie Jingxing left that Shun Miao felt that these words were too ambiguous. Chapter 695. She thought of Xie Jingxing's words and tried to softly call out, "Song Yang." In a blink of an eye, there was a young man dressed in black like a guard in front of her. Shun Miao had a headache. Did Xie Jingxing stuff someone into her boudoir? In the future, she would be watched even when she was sleeping? She asked, "You stay in the room all day?" Song Yang said, "This subordinate lives on the tree at the entrance, and when young foreign call this subordinate's name. This subordinate is a person who practices martial arts and would be able to hear it softly." Shin Miao looked at him in surprise. "What did you call me?" Song Yang bowed to her. "Young foreign?" Shin Miao said, "Do not call me young foreign." "Yes, young foreign." Shin Miao. After a long while, she waved her hands and said helplessly, "Never mind. Let me ask you, what did Xie Jingxing go to do?" Xie Jingxing left in a hurry, and it seemed that he had something important to do. Shin Miao felt uneasy because of the matter in the day and thought that Xie Jingxing went to find Su Mingfeng to silence him. Song Yang said, "This subordinate do not know." Shin Miao took a deep breath. Xie Jingxing did not send a secret guard, but sent someone to monitor her. She sized up this person called Song Yang. He looked young and strong. Tomorrow he would follow the little kitchen to chop firewood. Xie Jingxing left the Shin mansion and instructed Tai Yi, in the future let Ji Yushu stay further away from Songyang. Ji Yushu had the temperament of wishing for the world to be in chaos and felt that the days were too leisurely. To create trouble for him at this critical juncture, he really wanted to kick him back to the Great Liang. Tai Yi complied and suddenly thought of something. Master. The traveling Great Master Guanjin has arrived at Pu Tuo Monastery. Previously His Majesty let you go take a look. Now that he is in Mingqi, when do you plan to leave? Xie Jingxing thought for a moment and said, tomorrow. The next day the weather was extremely good. Luo Tan had recently fallen in love with cutting window flowers, and thinking that it was the end of the year, she could cut some festive patterns to paste on the windows. She carried a large stack of red paper and scissors over and wanted to cut the window flowers with Shin Miao. As Shin Miao was cutting, she remembered some things. In her previous life in the state of Qin, those princesses and princes deliberately made fun of her, making her cut window decorations and do needlework. She had to cut and embroider day and night. Not only did she have poor eyesight, her vision became blurry at night, and her hands also developed a thick layer of calluses, making them very rough. Later, when she returned to the palace, even if Shuang Jiang brought a stone to help her grind, she was still unable to grind off the calluses. Coincidentally, it was Fu Xiuyi's birthday, and all the beauties in the inner palace wanted to send birthday gifts to coax the emperor to be happy. Mei Furin's song lingered for 3 days, and the way her slender jade fingers fluttered made everyone stare blankly. When it was her turn, Shen Miao presented an embroidered painting of mountains and rivers. She was the Empress, and it was not dignified to sing and dance. That mountain-river diagram was very imposing, and Fu Xiu obviously liked it very much, and the officials also praised it. Mei Furin did not let it go and insisted that Shin Miao also play a Kong Ho. Shin Miao was unwilling and looked at Fu Xiu with some pleading eyes. Fu Xiu downplayed it. Since Mayor is interested, then the Empress can play a song for Zhen. Zhen had not heard you play the zither for many years. Shin Miao was forced to play helplessly and could only play. Shin Miao knew how to play the Kong Ho. She actually learned a lot of things for Fu Xiu, and even though it was not as moving as Mei Furin's zither, she was still able to listen to it. But it still provoked criticism from the officials, ridicule from the concubines, and everyone pointed at it. Why? It was because that pair of hands that were used to play the Kong Ho was too ugly. The joints were thick due to working all year round, and one could see thick scissors between the fingers. The entire hand was clumsy and rough, not like the hands of the Empress of a country, but more like the hands of a peasant woman in the countryside. Chapter 696. Compared to that pair of delicate white and beautiful jade hands, it formed a sharp contrast. She was very afraid. Not afraid that she would make a fool of herself, but afraid that because of her, Wan Yu and Fu Ming would be pointed at. When she was playing the Chinese harp, she saw Mei Furin smiling charmingly at her, and seeing Fu Xiuyi's cold and harsh expression, her heart was so sad that she wanted to cry. It was just that Shen Miao could not cry. For Wan Yu and Fu Ming, she wanted to be a dignified and indifferent empress. She pretended that she did not care about anything, but when she returned to Kunning Palace, she let Shuang Jiang bring double the grindstone and grind off a layer of skin on her hands. Luo Tan saw that Shen Miao was lost in thought and asked, "Youngest Biao sister?" Shen Miao recovered to her senses and saw that the picture of a magpie in spring had been cut off. She could not help but smile bitterly. Now that she had a second life, her hands were still tender and flawless, but it seemed that the calluses were still there, constantly reminding her of her embarrassing past. Shen Miao threw the scissors away and said, "Not cutting anymore." Luo Tin made an sound and asked, "Why?" Shen Miao casually said, "Calluses will grow." Luo Tan, who had always worshipped Shen Miao, could not help but have a strange expression. "It is not like cutting day and night. How would calluses grow?" She then said, "No wonder your little name is Jiao Jiao." Shen Miao picked up the teacup and took a sip when she saw Guyu walking in from outside. "Young lady, Furin wants you to go to the main hall." Luo Shui did not have any official duties today and was in the residence. Shen Miao asked, What matter does mother call me for? Gu Yu hesitated for a moment before saying, this servant also, do not know, but Su family's foreign came to our residence and is currently talking to foreign in the main hall. Su family? Xun Miao's hands paused and put down the teacup. The Count of Ping Nan's Su family. Exactly. In the main hall, Luo Shuiyan was talking to Su foreign. Su foreign did not come empty-handed today, as she said that her master had obtained 2 snow sparrows, and these snow sparrows could only be found in the northern country. Su foreign was afraid that they would spoil it and knew that Luo Shuiyan was from the northwestern region, so she specially came to ask how the snow sparrows could be raised. Luo Shuiyan previously thought that Su foreign was here to laugh at her, but upon seeing Su foreign's sincere expression, she did not have any intention of teasing. He also carried 2 baskets of fresh fruits from the countryside, which were fresh and tender. Previously, the residents of the formidable great general and the residents of the Marquis of Lin and were enemies, and the Su family was on good terms with the residents of the Marquis of Lin, and naturally, the Xun and Su family were strangers and did not care about each other. 2 years ago, the matter, Xun of the matter of the resistance. The Xun family was of the Xun and Xun. Even though at the end it was self-defeating and made Emperor Wen Hui relax his vigilance. But Luo Shuiyan remembered this in her heart. Luo, and one of Xun of Luo of. One of one. Luo, it was just that her heart was somewhat puzzled. This Su foreign said that she came to ask how to raise the snow sparrows, but after talking for half a day, she did not mention about the snow sparrows at all. She only pestered Luo Shuiyan to talk about the new and interesting things in the Shaochun city, and repeatedly praised Luo Shuiyan for teaching her children well and for giving birth to a pair of good children. The praises made Luo Shuiyan somewhat red. After praising for so long, Luo Shuiyan thought that it was time to let Xun Miao come out to meet the guests and let someone call Xun Miao over. But her heart was suspicious. Could it be that the residents of the Marquis of Lin and was about to fall, and the Su family wanted to find a backer for themselves, so they wanted to curry favor with the Xun family? If that was the case, then the Su family really could not be associated. Thinking of this, Luo Shuiyan felt that her decision to call Xun Miao over was somewhat impulsive. Especially when she saw Su foreign looking at the door expectantly, she felt even more depressed. It was just that the words that were said were like the water that was poured out, so it was not good to refute. Chapter 697. Until the maid outside came over to report that young lady had come over. Su foreign immediately sat up straight and looked towards the door with some excitement. One saw a tall young lady wearing a light yellow dress walking in. She was quite handsome with some heroic spirit in her brows and wheat-colored skin. She was also hopping when she walked, and her hair was combed into a deer bun. She only had 2 pearl earrings, and there was a red dagger at her waist. Su foreign. She did not think that Su Mingfeng would like such a female. One look, and one could tell that she was lively and unruly. When that young lady saw Luo Shuiyan, she laughed. Youngest Gu. Youngest Gu? Su foreign was surprised for a moment before she saw clearly that there was another young lady behind this young lady. This person was wearing a lilac pleated skirt with pleated begonia, a small white coat, and a snow-white cloak over her head. Her skin was as white as a peeled egg. Her eyes were round and bright. Her nose and mouth were small, and her brows were delicate, making her look very lovable. But there was a strange posture that suppressed all the tenderness and naivety. She walked in a dignified and steady manner, looking like a person that came out from the palace. When Su foreign just married Su Yu, she had seen the Empress before when the bride met the Empress Dowager. She felt that this petite young lady had the exact same posture as the Empress and was even more arrogant than the Empress. The one who walked over was a proud and cold noble lady with her chin up, and every move had the air of nobility that only a purple marquis would have. That young lady called Luo Shuiyan mother before looking at Su foreign. Luo Shuiyan quickly said, "This is the foreign of the Count of Ping Nan's Su family. This is my daughter and niece, Tanner." Xun Miao and Luo Tan bowed to Su foreign. Su foreign did not go to the palace banquet previously and only heard of Xun Miao going against Princess Mingyan at the banquet. She knew that Xun Miao was not a docile person. Thus, when she heard Su Minglang say that Su Mingfeng was interested in Xun Miao, she was somewhat worried. But she had to come and take a look. Thus she thickened her face and sent the invitation. After all, it was her son's lifelong event. Thinking that Luo Tan was definitely an unruly female hero, one subconsciously thought that Luo Tan was Shen Miao. One did not think that after seeing the real person, one then felt that it was the complete opposite of the truth. She smiled as she took out 2 pouches from her sleeves and stuffed it into Shen Miao's and Luo Tan's hands. Shen Foreign really know how to raise people. This biological daughter and biological niece are both better looking than the other. Just now when I walked over, I was still wondering where this immortal daughter came from. Shen Foreign is really blessed. Luo Tan and Shen Miao looked at the pouch in their hands and were somewhat at a loss. It was not the new year, so why would they give a pouch? It was still alright if they were familiar with each other, but Shen Miao knew that the Su family and the Shun family did not have any relation. Could it be that the matter with Su Ming Feng yesterday was exposed? But even if it was exposed, what did it have to do with Su Foreign coming to the Shun residence? Luo Shui Yin also looked at the pouch and was somewhat stiff. Just as she was about to open her mouth to decline, Su Foreign held her hands down and said, "If you were to decline, I would be angry. I saw that these 2 young ladies are beautiful and well-mannered. Thus my heart likes them very much. It is just a little greeting gift. Everyone said that Shun Foreign is forthright, so why be so stingy?" She sighed again. It would be good if I had 2 daughters. Luo Shui Yin was really confused by Su Foreign today and could only go along with her words. What are you saying? Foreign have 2 sons in the residence, and they are also very outstanding. How are they outstanding? Su Foreign shook her head. Ming Lang is very stubborn and mischievous. Every day, he does not think of making progress and only know how to follow his father to mess around. I heard that your Chiora was very sensible at a young age, and my heart is very envious. Isn't there still Ming Feng? Luo Shui Yin smiled. The eldest young master in the residence is a young talent. Su Foreign's heart was delighted and looked towards Shen Miao and Luo Tan. 2 young ladies, we are chatting about some boring things, and you would find it annoying to listen. Go and play on your own. I will speak to Foreign. This was a tactful way of sending them away. Shen Miao's heart became more vigilant. Su Foreign would send her away upon the mention of Su Ming Feng. Could it be that she had guessed wrongly and Su Foreign was really here because of yesterday's matter? Luo Tan and Shen Miao walked outside, and Shen Miao borrowed the opportunity to turn her back and said softly, "Song Yang, go to the main hall and listen to what they are talking about." She knew that no matter how soft her voice was, Song Yang would be able to hear it. When Luo Tan saw it, she asked, "Biao, youngest sister, what are you muttering to yourself?" In the main hall, Su Foreign covered her heart and looked at Luo Shui Yin with melancholy. Not to hide from Foreign, Ming Feng is indeed not bad. For so many years, he did not let his father, and I worry about him. He is born with a talented appearance and high in learning. He entered the officialdom at a young age and is filial and well-mannered. One would not be able to find a second person like him in the entire Ding capital. Luo Shui Yin had a smile on her face, but her heart was muttering. Just now she said that Xin Xiu was good, and now she said that her own son was the best in the Ding capital. How would one boast like this? Just as she was thinking, she heard Su Foreign exaggeratedly sighing. Just a little bad. My son is stubborn and likes one thing and would not look at other things. That is to the extent that he is not married until now. Really sinful. Chapter 698. Luo Shui Yin jumped in shock and did not know why Su Foreign suddenly said such scary words. She thought in her heart that it was just that they were not married, and it was not like females were afraid of wasting their youth. Su Ming Feng's talent and appearance were placed there, so it was natural to be picky. But seeing Su Foreign's distressed look, she still comforted. What is this? For need not worry too much about it. Look at our residence's Chior, who is still not married until now. One must pick a wife well. One will not be able to eat hot tofu if one is anxious. If one were to pick one for him in a hurry and discover that it is not suitable in the future, it would be harming oneself and others. Foreign said it very correctly. Su Foreign pulled Luo Shui Yan's hands and said with a smile, The younger generation have their own fortune. I originally thought so. But this child, Ming Feng, is a tight-lipped gourd and would not tell me anything. I do not know his thoughts at all. Luo Shui Yin listened perfunctorily. She had seen Su Ming Feng before, and he had a good eloquence. Su Foreign really dared to say that he was a tight-lipped gourd when debating. She really did not want to continue talking about other people's family matters with Su Foreign, so she changed the topic. Does Su Foreign not want to know how these sparrows are raised? Su Foreign glanced at the 2 sparrows in the cage, but pretended not to hear, and continued. It is better to talk about my good-for-nothing son. Luo Shui Yin. When Ming Feng was young, he liked a painting that his father found, and afterwards other paintings did not enter his eyes. When others gave it to him, he would not even look at it, but when that painting was given away by his father, Ming Feng thought about it for many years. Su Foreign sighed. Ming Feng is a sentimental person, and the things that he fancied are the best, and because of this, he would not be willing to settle for anything else. Just as Luo Shui Yin was puzzled, she heard Su Foreign's voice. This young lady is the same. He likes a young lady, and other young ladies would not enter his heart. Luo Shui Yin suddenly understood and smiled. So eldest Su Young Master already has a sweetheart. One do not know which family's young lady has such good fortune. This was originally a polite remark, but one did not think that Su Foreign was waiting for this sentence. She immediately clapped her hands and said, "It is the young lady of your residence." Luo Shui Yin's face instantly turned from green to white, then from white to green. Her feelings had come knocking on her door in a roundabout way, waiting for her. Luo Shui Yin was wondering why the other party brought 2 bird cages over, but didn't even ask about the birds. Instead, he kept on praising his own son. Now, she suddenly understood. He was here to claim marriage. Su Foreign saw that Luo Shui Yan's expression was not very happy, and her heart was anxious. She knew that the Shin family had a big business and did not need to place the Su family's little property in their eyes. There were many families like the Su family who were willing to marry into the Shun family in the Ding capital. In addition to seeing Xin Miao with her own eyes today, she did not see any of the rumors of a weak and vulgar young lady. Such a dignified bearing, a girl who knew when to advance and when to retreat. If he were to marry her and make her the mistress of the household, she would be able to control the situation. Both the inside and the outside were very satisfied. It all depended on the attitude of the Shin family. Luo Shui Yan's face turned cold as she said, "Su Foreign came today just for this?" Su Foreign was somewhat embarrassed as she knew that it was not right to look at one's daughter-in-law under other pretexts, but she still said, "Shin Foreign must not be angry. I know that I was rude today, but you are also a mother and should be able to understand my thoughts." Luo Shui Yan's expression slightly relaxed. When Su Foreign came today, her attitude was indeed not bad. One would not slap a smiling person, so she said, without any reason or rhyme, "Why would Su Foreign come and talk to me about this?" Luo Shui Yan's heart thumped. Could it be that Shun Miao and Su Ming Feng had secretly arranged a marriage? Even though the folkways of Ming Qi were considered to be more open, it was not a glorious thing for both families to privately make an alliance without knowing about it. Chapter 699. Su Foreign said, "I heard from Ming Lang that Ming Feng is secretly interested in 5th young lady." Initially, one did not believe it because this son of mine is a blockhead. Until now, he did not get close to any young lady. I don't know what kind of person 5th Miss is, so I came here today. After seeing 5th young lady, one finally understood why Ming Feng liked her. Good looks, good temperament, and this bearing was not bad. I guess that in the entire Ming Qi, only the Shin family could raise such a young lady. Not to hide it from Shin Foreign, not only Ming Feng, even I like it very much. So one could not wait to tell Foreign about this matter. I know Madam is a straightforward person and likes to be straightforward, so I won't beat around the bush. These words were said with sincerity and praised Xin Miao without a trace. As a mother, how could she not like her daughter being praised? Luo Shui Yan's complexion gradually improved. But how could Xin Miao's marriage be decided with just one sentence? Firstly, the Shun family's position in Ming Qi was special, and it did not matter if the in-laws were strong or weak. Thus, it was really difficult to decide on Xin Miao's marriage. Secondly, even though Su Mingfeng had a good reputation outside, he was sick a few years back and delayed his official career. Luo Shuiyin did not want Xin Miao to marry a sickly person. Moreover, Luo Shuiyin and Su Mingfeng had not met before and did not know how this person's character was. Thirdly, and the most important point, was that Su Mingfeng liked Xin Miao, but one did not know if Xin Miao liked Su Mingfeng or not. Luo Shuiyin was an open-minded mother. Even though it was the matchmaker's words, Luo Shuiyin hoped that Xin Miao would be happy and that her future husband must be someone that she liked. Therefore, he couldn't make a hasty decision like this. My daughter's marriage cannot be decided in such a short time. Luo Shuiyin smiled and said, on behalf of my master, I thank Foreign and Gongzi for their love. It's just that the marriage ceremony requires a lot of consideration. I can't give Madam an answer in such a short period of time. I'm afraid I'll have to think about it for a few more days. Just as Madam had said, everyone was a mother. As a mother, I love my daughter dearly and hope that Foreign can understand. Luo Shuiyin did not dare to be too harsh with her words and left some leeway. This made Madame Su extremely satisfied. She said a few more words before leaving. After Madame Su left, Luo Shuiyin's eyes darkened, and she looked a little dignified. All along, Luo Shuiyin and Shen Xian felt that Xin Miao was still young and there was no rush in marriage. But when Su Foreign came to visit with the intention to claim kinship, it reminded Luo Shuiyin that at this age, it was time for Xin Miao to be engaged. But how many young talents were there in the Ding capital? Luo Shuiyin planned to wait for Shen Xian to return before telling him about this matter. At the same time, she would get someone to make a booklet so that she could look around. Madame Su returned to the Su residence. For the first time, Master Su didn't go fishing and play with the birds. Instead, he stayed in the house. Seeing that Madame Su had returned, she immediately went forward to massage Madame Su's shoulders and ordered a maid to serve tea. Old Master Su was like a mouse seeing a cat when he saw Madame Su, and the surrounding servants were already used to it. Master Su asked, how was it? What did Xin Foreign say? I didn't agree, but I didn't say I wouldn't agree either. I think I still need to think about it. Su Foreign said, after all, I went over so abruptly today. Moreover, the Xin family is not an ordinary family, so it is not a bad thing to think a little longer. Still need to think. Su Yu's face fell. What is there to think about? Su Foreign found it funny. Could it be that you think that if I go over today, one would agree? Why not agree? Su Yu asked, what is not good about Ming Feng? Is there a second young talent like Ming Feng in the Ding capital? Whoever's young lady marries to Ming Feng. That is a blessing cultivated in the previous lifetime. As he spoke, he suddenly thought of something. Wait, how about fifth Xin young lady? Chapter 700. He finally remembered to ask about this matter. Master Su had seen Xin Miao at the palace banquet and felt that Xin Miao was not bad, just that her character was a little too strong. However, most men could not accurately judge a woman. This kind of thing had to be done by the woman. That was why Madame Su came out and looked at this future daughter-in-law with a critical gaze. So you wanted to hear what Madame Su thought of Xin Miao. Su Foreign drank a mouthful of tea and said, Ming Feng's foresight is indeed not bad. I see that this fifth Xin young lady is much better than most of the young ladies in the Ding capital. There was no need to talk about her temperament, and since she was a young lady taught by Shen Xian, it was assumed that her character would not be bad. That kind of bearing was rare, like that of a noble from the palace. But there was one point, one fear that Ming Feng would not be able to tame this kind of young lady. But it is also good. Ming Feng's temperament is gentle, and with such a strong foreign as the matriarch of the household, this residence can be controlled. It is very good. It was rare for Su Yu to hear Su Foreign praise a person like this, and his heart started to mutter. Wasn't it said that mothers-in-law were extremely picky with their daughters-in-law? Could it be that his wife was too gentle? Su Mingfeng returned from outside, and just as he was about to step into the main hall, the corner of his clothes was pulled by someone. When he looked back, it was Su Minglang. Su Minglang looked at him seriously. Eldest brother, you must not go in and create trouble. lest you ruin your lifelong event. My lifelong event? Su Ming Feng was puzzled. What lifelong event? Eh? Today, I heard Jean Feng Jie joking with other people, saying that mother went to look for a wife for you. Su Ming Lang said. Su Ming Feng was shocked when he heard it. What look for a wife? Who is it? Su Ming Lang said, isn't it Shun family's older sister? Mother went to the Shin family to look for a wife for me? Su Ming Feng raised his voice. Su Ming Lang jumped in shock and said hatefully that iron did not become steel. Isn't it just marrying a wife? In the future, when older sister Shun becomes my eldest Saw, she would not be able to see your actions. He patted Su Ming Feng's arm. Really envy you. The Su family came to the Shin mansion to find a wife for Su Ming Feng. On the surface, no one knew about this matter, but in fact there were many people who knew about it. Shin Xian and Luo Shui Yin discussed for a while and really started to seriously look for young talents in the Ding capital for Shin Miao, and even considered if they should let Shin Miao participate in a few flower banquets. Shin Xian also let Shin Xiu pay attention to the youths in the capital who were of the same age as him. The Shin mansion had already created such a big movement. If the residents of Prince Rui did not know about it, then it would not be justifiable. When Xie Jingxing returned to the residence of the Qin prince, he was faced with Ji Yushu's provocation of wanting the world to be in chaos. Song Yang didn't know where he got the news from, but he jumped up and down with a letter in his hand, saying, Third brother, the Su family has come to propose marriage. What are you still waiting for? He paused before continuing. Still not going to find trouble with Su Ming Feng. Gao Yang's face also revealed a worried look. Su Furen knows how to conduct herself well in the Ding capital and is on good terms with many Furens. The Su family's reputation is also not bad. And if Shin Xian feels that Su Ming Feng is not bad, perhaps he would agree to this marriage. Xie Jingxing swept a glance at the letter and knew the contents of the letter like the back of his hand, and felt a headache. Su Ming Feng's way of doing things was more dependable, but he had a pair of parents who were too jumpy. Now that they had come to propose marriage, one could not predict what shocking things they would do. Moreover, Ji Yushu was still fanning the flames at the side and said with an indignant face, what a good Su Ming Feng. Initially, when he was with third older brother, he called each other brothers and even had such a long friendship. Now that third older brother has changed his identity, he quietly went out to poach. His schemes are really deep. Ancestors said that a long journey tests the stamina of a horse and time reveals a person's heart. So this Su Ming Feng is this kind of person. Third older brother, you should break off all ties with him. Chapter 701. Gao Yang really could not listen to Ji Yushu's nonsense and said, now it is better to find another method. The Su family's matter was a small matter, but the Shin family had already started to search for a husband for fifth Shin young lady. We do not have much time in Ming Qi, so if you want to do it, settle it earlier. When these words were said, Xie Jingxing's expression turned cold. Ji Yushu did not detect it but had an inspiration and said, I have an idea. The few of them looked at him together, and Ji Yushu said, since third older brother is a dead person in their eyes, why not pretend to be a ghost at night and appear in Su Ming Feng's dreams? Just say that Shin young lady is the person that third older brother fancied and wanted to have a ghost marriage. Su Ming Feng would be scared and naturally would not dare to have any ideas on fifth Shin young lady. AI, third older brother, don't go. Listen to me finish. Gao Yang shook his head and sighed. Stupid. Xie Jingxing returned to the study and sat down in front of the table. His brows were tightly knitted and no one knew what he was thinking about. Tie, who was beside him, asked hesitantly, Master, today at Pudua Temple, what Great Master Guanjin said. Great Master Guanjin was a wandering monk. Some said that he was from the Great Liang, some said that he was from the Qin country, and some said that he was from the Ming Qi. But one thing was for sure. Whenever Master Guanjun came to the temple, everyone would treat him as an honored guest. Great Master Guanjun was a disciple of Buddha. It was said that he could see the past and future of a person. This was naturally an exaggeration, but Great Master Guanjun's prophecy was extremely accurate. He once predicted a flood in the Great Liang. Emperor Yong Lu tried to persuade Master Guanjun to stay, but Master Guanjun refused. 2 years ago, when Xie Jingxing returned to the Great Liang, Emperor Yong Lu wanted to find Master Guanjun to take a look at Xie Jingxing's physiognomy, but at that time Master Guanjun had already left the Great Liang and no one knew of his whereabouts. He didn't expect to meet him here. In the daytime when they arrived at Pu Tuo Temple, Xie Jingxing did not say anything, but Reverend Guanjun had already guessed his identity. No one knew how he managed to guess it. And the prophecy for Xie Jingxing was, Army Destroyer Ziwei, ferocious dragon subdue the heavens. He was using his life to decide the overall situation. The meaning of this explanation was that Xie Jingxing was a very important person. He alone could affect the entire situation. The army destroyer Purple Finger first broke and then established, using both kindness and might. When Xie Jingxing was in Mingqi, he claimed to be the heir apparent of the residence of the Marquis of Lin and then died in the battlefield. Afterwards, when Prince Rui of the Great Liang reappeared in front of the world, it was established. The dragon was the leader of all living things. Unfortunately, it was a vicious dragon, savage and ruthless. Xie Jingxing was asking about tribulation. However, Great Master Guanjun shook his head. He only said that the fierce dragon doesn't get tribulated was actually helping people to pass the tribulation. When Xie Jingxing asked again, Master Guanjun said that heaven's secrets must not be divulged and refused to say anything more. Tai was a little discouraged. It was not easy for Great Master Guanjun to read his fortune, but he gave a vague answer. Then, he thought about how his master had a temperament that was indifferent to external things. Fierce dragon doesn't get tribulated, helping others to overcome their tribulations. Listening to his master, he seemed to have become a bodhisattva, who had such a big face to be able to let his master be his backer. Even if that person dared to do so, would master be willing? Xie Jingxing said, Do not bother about this. First send this letter back to the Great Liang. His expression was somewhat stern. Shen Miao was unable to fall asleep on the bed. Song Yang's words in the afternoon were still lingering in her ears. She had never thought that Su Foran's purpose of coming to the Shin mansion was to seek marriage with Su Mingfeng. Thinking of Song Yang's wooden face as he repeated all the words of the two people in the room to her without missing a single word, especially when he was a man speaking in a woman's language and kept on saying, all are mothers, Shen Miao felt that it was somewhat funny. Xie Jingxing was indeed a talent. One did not know where did he find such a precious secret guard. Chapter 702. But as she thought about it, she could not smile anymore. Why would Su Foran want to claim marriage for Su Mingfeng? From Song Yang's words, Su Mingfeng had deep feelings for Shen Miao, and Shen Miao would never believe in these words. Not to mention that Su Mingfeng had only seen her a few times. Moreover, that day on the streets, Su Mingfeng's gaze when he looked at her was not special at all. Could it be that this was Su Mingfeng's conspiracy? Shen Miao thought that because Su Mingfeng wanted to understand the secret of the tiger head bracelet, he decided to marry her. Was he not afraid that he would not be able to find out the truth by spending the whole day with her? Or did he think that after she became his wife, she would tell him everything? But Su Mingfeng's actions were too much of a loss. In order to find out the truth, he even threw in his entire life. Those people in the Supreme Court of Justice should be so ashamed that they would not have the face to face their fellow villagers. Guyu walked in from the outside with a stack of clothes in her hands and said with a smile, Young lady, tomorrow one is going to Puto Monastery, and Foran said to wear some light colors. This servant brought some darker colored clothes for young lady to pick and wear tomorrow morning. As she spoke, she cut the wick of the oil lamp for Shen Miao and said, Young lady must rest early today and wake up early tomorrow. One fear that there's a long way to go. Shen Miao felt helpless when this matter was mentioned. In the evening, Luo Shui Yan's maid came over to tell Luo Tan and Shen Miao that she would bring the three of them to Pu Tuo Monastery to offer incense. Luo Tan had never been to Pu Tuo Monastery before and was naturally very happy, but Shen Miao was somewhat lacking in interest. Pu Tuo Monastery was considered a famous monastery in the Ding capital and was located halfway up the mountain in the northern part of the city. It was said that the bodhisattvas and Buddhas there were very spiritual, and the most spiritual was the tree of cultivating destinies. The young female used copper coins to exchange for some red ropes from the monks in the temple and tied the red ropes to a pouch and threw it up the tree. If the red ropes in the pouch were not thrown down, it meant that the Yulao had heard the female's prayers and would bring a good marriage for the female. Shen Miao had also gone to that tree of cultivating destinies in her past life, and in order to be able to tie the knot with Fu Xiu, she bought 100 red ropes in one go and threw it up. Afterwards, this matter was accidentally spread by Xin Qing and Xin Yu, and it became a joke in the Ding capital. Therefore, Shen Miao did not like the Tree of Karma that much. If she did not hear Su Furin and Luo Shuiyan's conversation from Songyang today, Shen Miao would not have thought of anything and would only feel that it was nearing the end of the year and Luo Shuiyan really wanted to go and offer incense. But after knowing what they said in the main hall, Shen Miao understood that Luo Shuiyan did not want to offer incense, but obviously wanted her to throw the red rope on the tree of cultivating destinies. Shen Miao's heart was extremely unwilling and even thought of pretending to be sick. But this would be too deliberate, and Luo Tan was in high spirits, and Shen Miao was easily soft-hearted towards Luo Shuiyan. Thinking that it was just to throw the red rope, she could only agree. However, he still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. This night, Shen Miao did not sleep well. She had several dreams during the night, and in her dreams, she was standing under the tree of cultivating destinies and throwing the red rope up. Luo Shuiyan bought an entire bucket of red rope for her, and Shen Miao's arms were sore from throwing it, but all the red ropes with their markings were all gone. There was nothing on the ground or on the tree. Just as she was feeling astonished, she saw a purple-clad youth sitting on the tree with a bunch of her red ropes in his arms. His lips hooked up to her with a smile that was not a smile, and asked, "Who are you going to marry?" Sword-like eyebrows, a straight nose, thin red lips, and a pair of peach blossom eyes that were as sharp as a blade. It was Xie Jingxing's face. Shen Miao suddenly woke up from her dream and could not fall asleep no matter what. She managed to endure till dawn, and when Jingzhi came in, she was shocked and asked, "Why did young lady not sleep well last night? Her eyes are all black." Chapter 703. Shen Miao waved her hands. She only felt that this dream was strange and had some unknown shame and indignation, so she simply did not say anything. After eating and washing up, one went out of the door and saw Luo Shuiyan and the rest waiting in the hall. What made Shen Miao surprised was that other than Luo Tan, Shen Xiu and Luo Ling were also there. Luo Shuiyan said, "Since it's an incense offering, the younger generation should all go together to pray for the blessings of Buddha." Shen Xian said, "Then I will also go along." "Why are you going?" Luo Shuiyan hated that he didn't understand her meaning and said, "You don't have to go." Shen Xiu was puzzled why his father could not go, but Shen Miao understood in her heart. It seemed that Luo Shuiyan not only wanted her and Luo Tan to throw the red ropes, most likely she also wanted Shen Xiu and Luo Ling to throw it. After all, Shen Xiu and Luo Ling had reached the age to marry. But wasn't the tree of cultivating destinies something that only women could throw? If it was really hung up, could it be that Shen Xiu and Luo Ling would become cut sleeves in the future? Shen Miao could not help but shiver. Without wasting too much time, everyone quickly set off. The distance between Pu Tuo Monastery and the Shen Mansion was somewhat far. If they set off in the morning, it would be close to noon when they arrived. Along the way, Luo Tan was in high spirits and kept asking Luo Shuiyan if Pu Tuo Temple was really so magical. As Luo Shuiyan spoke, she indeed led the topic to the Tree of Karma. When Luo Tan heard the news about the Tree of Cultivating Destinies, she found it very interesting and said, "This is somewhat similar to a custom of our Shaochun city. But since Pu Tuo Monastery is a famous monastery, then this Tree of Cultivating Destinies should be very efficacious." She shook Shen Miao's arm. "Biao, youngest sister, how about we also go and throw the red rope? Aren't you not in a rush to marry?" Shen Miao looked at her from the corner of her eyes. Luo Tan lightly coughed twice. "Even so, when in Rome, do as the Romans do." Luo Shuiyan also said, Jiao, Tanner, when we arrive at Pu Tuo Temple, the two of you should also throw the red rope. Whether you're going to marry or not, you will be able to gain some good luck, won't you?" Luo Tan excitedly complied. Luo Tan had long known of her mother's plans and had no choice but to comply. But it was said that they were on their way to the ancient temple that had existed for hundreds of years in Mingqi. In one of the meditation rooms, the incense was curling up, and at the moment there was a 70-year-old monk sitting there. This monk had a kind and benevolent countenance. He really looked like a disciple of the Buddha. He wore a red kasaya and held a string of Buddhist beads in his hand. The young monk beside him asked, "Master, we've been waiting here for several days. Will the fated one really come?" "This poor monk has been waiting here for many days for her arrival," the old monk said lightly. "But I've waited for a long time." The little monk was only in his teens and was at the age where he was curious. He quickly asked, "When will he come?" The old monk did not speak and only silently turned the Buddhist beads in his hand. Suddenly, he stopped turning the Buddhist beads and repeatedly stroked a round Buddhist bead between his fingers. After a while, the old monk smiled. "In a moment," he said. When Shen Miao and entourage reached Pu Tuo Monastery, it was not even noon. Perhaps it was because the horses ran hard today, or the coachman drove the carriage well, or the road was much smoother. In short, the journey that would normally take 5.5 hours was completed in less than 4 hours today. The few of them jumped off the carriage, and Xin Xiu and Luo Ling also flipped off their horses. They saw that in the middle of the mountain in the lush forest, there was an ancient temple. Because of the layers of clouds, it was like a fairyland. In addition to the distant Buddhist sounds, one could not help but feel a sense of awe. Luo Tan sighed. "Really has the style of a famous temple." Luo Shuiyin instructed, "Qiu'er, Ling'er, both of you dismount first. I will bring Tanner and Jiao Jiao in." After Xin Xiu and Luo Ling left, the guards of the Xin residence followed Shen Miao and entourage. Luo Tan saw a tree that was hung with red ropes from afar and said, "This is the tree of cultivating destinies? Youngest Gu, quickly come and see. It is so big." Luo Shuiyin smiled. "Let us first go and buy the red ropes." Shen Miao followed behind both of them and felt helpless in her heart. Luo Tan ran very fast, and Luo Shuiyin had a fiery temperament. Thus Shen Miao was left behind. But with the guards of the Shen residence and Song Yang in the dark, Shen Miao was not worried at all. When she followed Luo Shuiyin and the rest into a Buddhist hall, Shen Miao's skirt was suddenly pulled by someone. She turned back to look and saw a person in Taoist robes squatting at the side of the threshold. How would there be people from the Taoist sects in a Buddhist place? This Taoist priest's clothes were tattered, and there was a lot pot in front of him and a horsetail whisk in his hand. One did not know why, but it was somewhat comical. He was around 40 years of age and had a small mustache as he looked at Shen Miao with bright eyes. "Young lady, this poor Taoist sees that your glabella is dark and one fear that there will be a bloody calamity. There are green circles under your eyes, and there will be trouble with peach blossoms. Do you want this poor Taoist to read your fortune? Where did this lunatic come from? Full of nonsense." Jingzhou was extremely angry. Shen Miao pulled out the corner of her skirt and was about to walk forward without looking sideways. But she heard that person saying, "Even though a phoenix's life is good, it is a pity to be imprisoned for a lifetime." Chapter 704. Even though a phoenix's life is good, it is a pity to be imprisoned for a lifetime. Shen Miao's footsteps suddenly paused as she frowned at that Taoist priest and asked, "What did you say?" That Taoist priest, however, turned his head away proudly and started to sing a little tune. Jingzhi said, "Young lady must not take it to heart. Who knows where this swindler came from to speak nonsense?" Even though one did not know why would people from the sect come to a Buddhist place, but this Taoist priest did not look proper, not to mention the sage-like demeanor of an ordinary Taoist. It seemed that he was just casually saying it and was no different from those swindlers on the streets. Shen Miao looked to the front, and Luo Shuiyin and Luo Tan had already entered, and behind her, there were a few guards following behind and did not move forward. She pondered for a moment before sitting down on the small wooden stool in front of the Taoist priest's stall and said, "I want to have my fortune read. This poor Taoist fortune is very precious." Before the words were finished, Shen Miao took out a golden peanut from her bag. This was the thing that Su Forn gave her in the pouch. Most likely she was afraid that it would be rude to gift it too expensive, so it was a pouch full of golden peanuts so that it would be convenient to buy things. Jingzhe and Gu Yu were somewhat anxious when they saw this. The most expensive fortune told on the streets was only a few taels of silver, so why was there a need to use golden peanuts? But once Shen Miao had decided on something, there was no room to change it. Even though the two maids were anxious, they were helpless. Shen Miao said, "If your fortune is accurate, then this golden peanut will belong to you. If it is not accurate, I will let people flip your stall and let the yamen come and arrest you for swindling." That Taoist priest smiled as he received the golden peanut and took out a pot of lots from his back. He shook it before handing it over to Shen Miao and smiled. "Young lady, draw 2 lots. Why do I need to smoke 2? Gu Yu could not help but ask. Usually 1 is enough. Could it be? She was suddenly enlightened. 1 for safety and the other for marriage? Luo Shuiyin began to worry about Shen Miao's lifelong affairs. Thus she also reminded the head maid beside Shen Miao. Jingzhe and Gu Yu knew that the most important thing for Shen Miao to come to an ordinary temple was to throw the red string on the marriage tree. Now that the Taoist priest wanted Shen Miao to draw 2 lots, they naturally thought of this. The Taoist priest shook his head and said, "Fortune-telling. Why does one need 2 lots for fortune-telling?" Jingzhe did not understand. That Taoist looked at Shen Miao and stroked his beard as he smiled mysteriously. Young lady's destiny cannot be calculated with 1 stick. Shen Miao's heart skipped a beat. Looking at the Taoist priest's confident look, she silently took the pot of lots and shook it. 2 lots fell to the ground with a clatter. That Taoist picked up the stick and looked at it. Jingzhe and Gu Yu were somewhat nervous. The Taoist priest shook his head and said, "Trapped in the phoenix cage, life is in danger, causing trouble. In front of the guillotine platform, it's all empty." He said, "This is a great misfortune." When these words were said, Jingzhe's and Gu Yu's expressions changed. What was called great omen and what was called guillotine? Jingzhe said, "What a good fake Taoist. Full of nonsense. Who are you trying to deceive? I think you're a liar. I'm going to report this to the authorities." Hey, the Taoist priest said. "What's the hurry? Why can't the little girl keep her cool? Isn't there another stick here?" Shen Miao's heart was pounding. Trapped in the phoenix cage was when she was trapped in the cold palace of the 9 palaces, and her struggles were fruitless. To cause trouble and implicate others, the entire Shen family was annihilated. Wasn't this the guillotine platform? She worked hard and put in effort for Fu Xiaoyi to sit firmly on the emperor's throne, but at the end it was all in vain. Fu Xiaoyi only gave her 3 feet of white silk. Even Wan Yu and Fu Ming did not survive, and he did not leave anything behind. How is it not all in vain? Chapter 705. Shen Miao said, "Taoist priest, help me look at the other lot." Jingzhe and Gu Yu were somewhat anxious as they could not understand why Shen Miao would look at this Taoist priest in a different light, and was even willing to let this Taoist priest look at the other lot. That Taoist priest chuckled and picked up the other lot. He glanced at Shen Miao and stroked his beard as usual before slowly saying, "Extreme negative brings bliss. Purple air coming from the east, an auspicious omen. A very good lot." Jingzhe and Gu Yu were afraid that the Taoist priest would say something inauspicious. It was nearing the end of the year, and everyone was afraid that inauspicious words would bring bad luck. Seeing him say that, they were relieved. Jingzhe did not let up and ridiculed. "I said that you are a liar. 1 lot is ominous and the other is auspicious. So which lot is true?" "Both lots are true." The Taoist priest said, "If you do not believe, ask your family's young lady if this Taoist priest is lying." Shen Miao's heart moved and said, "Jingzhe, Gu Yu, both of you go to the guards first. I have some words that I want to speak to this Taoist priest alone." Jingzhe wanted to persuade a few words as she felt that this Taoist priest was a swindler. However, Gu Yu shook her head at her and pulled her to one side to make space for Shen Miao and the Taoist priest to speak in peace. Shen Miao frowned as she looked at the Taoist priest. Does this Taoist priest know something? The Taoist priest was tidying up the lot pot as he spoke without turning his head. I saw a young lady's physiognomy, and it is an extremely noble person. Looking at young lady's fate, it is a phoenix's fate. It should be a life of glory and splendor, with fine food and silk clothes. Unfortunately, one's fate was changed. Shen Miao said, "What changed one's fate?" Her voice was somewhat urgent. The Taoist priest stopped his actions and looked at her. Young lady's fate is very strange. There will be a big calamity in one's life, and after passing through this calamity, one would naturally have a smooth life. But the first lot that young lady drew did not pass through this calamity. "What is my calamity?" Shen Miao asked. "A true phoenix and a fake phoenix. The fake phoenix snatched the true phoenix's fate and fortune, and the true phoenix was imprisoned." Shen Miao only felt that her heart was about to jump out of her throat. Real phoenix, fake phoenix. Could it be that she was the real phoenix? And as for the fake phoenix, could it be Mei Foren? Mei Foren gave birth to Fu Sheng, and Fu Xiu loved Fu Sheng so much. In the past lifetime, Fu Ming died and she also died. So Fu Xiu would make Mei Foren the Empress, and with Fu Xiu's love for Fu Sheng, perhaps he would pass the throne to Fu Sheng. Wasn't this the same as having one's fate stolen? Shen Miao said, "Priest said the first lot. Then in the second lot, can my calamity be passed? With your abilities, it's impossible." The Taoist priest shook his head and said, "But you're lucky to have a benefactor in your life." "Benefactor?" Shen Miao asked. "Who is my benefactor?" "This noble person has fate with you. He is the life of a vicious dragon subduing the heavens, a phoenix trapped in a cage. He can save you, and you can also dispel his evil energy. If you meet this person and borrow his power, Miss Fate will return to its rightful place. What you have lost, you will definitely gain." Shen Miao asked, "Where is this noble person? How can I find him?" The Taoist priest smiled. "Far at the horizon, but close at hand." This meant that he did not want to say more. Shen Miao's eyes flashed and asked again, "There is another question. Ordinary people can only draw one lot. But why do I have two lots? Is this the will of heaven?" She had been reborn, and every time she thought about it, there was a feeling of unreality. She feared that one day when she woke up, she would still be in that quiet, cold palace, and all of this was just a dream. Since this strange priest who came from nowhere was somewhat accurate, perhaps he knew a little. Heaven and earth are heartless and treat all living things as dogs. Young lady's two lots were requested by someone for young lady. Chapter 706. There is someone? Shen Miao caught the crux of the Taoist's words. Who is that person? It is someone who owes you a lot. The Taoist stood up from the ground and patted the dust off his clothes. The mysteries of heaven must not be revealed. Today, this poor Taoist and young lady have already revealed too much, and any more would cause one's good fortune to be cut. Young lady should not ask any more, and remember, the past is like a dream. One must not be entangled. When one is at the peak of prosperity, purple air comes from the east. Finishing, he waved his horsetail whisk and walked away in big strides. Shen Miao stood at the same spot in a daze until Jingzhe and Guyu walked to her side. Jingzhe said, "Strange atmosphere. One do not know where it came from. Is there no one in Pu Tuo Monastery to manage it?" Shen Miao felt that she had seen some secrets, and there was an indescribable feeling in her heart. Just as she was thinking, Luo Shuiyin and Luo Tan walked out from inside. Luo Tan was holding a small basket in her hands, and on top of it was a big pouch connected to a red string. She said with a smile, "Biao youngest sister, let's go and hang the red string. Why are you lagging behind?" Luo Shuiyin also said, "Just now I heard that there was a reverend preaching in the meditation room, so I wanted to call you over to listen. But when I turned around, I saw you behind me. I don't know what you were doing that took you so long. Do you still want to listen?" Shen Miao just listened to the Taoist conversation, and her mind was strangely confused. How would she still have the mood to listen to the monk preaching? She shook her head, not going. "Then let us go hang the red string first." Luo Tan was very excited and pulled Shen Miao forward. In the meditation room that Luo Shuiyin passed by, The old monk's action of knocking the wooden fish paused. The little monk asked, "Master, it is already past noon. Did Master not say that he would come? Is he coming or not?" Master Guanjun stood up from the meditation mat and shook his head. "Not coming." "Not coming?" The little monk was surprised. "Why? She met someone else?" The little monk was puzzled. Why not come after meeting someone else? Did Master not specially wait for her here? If she did not come, then all these days of waiting would be wasted. No matter. Master Guanjun put his palms together. She also met a fated person. This is cause and effect. Shun Miao and Luo Tan went outside and arrived under the Tree of Cultivating Destinies. The Tree of Cultivating Destinies was originally a huge, sweet-scented osmanthus tree. It was extremely thick and sturdy, but now its branches could not be seen clearly. They were all covered by the purses hanging from the red strings on the tree. Luo Ling and Xinqiu did not come at the end since this was for females to use. Luo Ten scooped up a red string and passed it to Xin Miao. "Biao, youngest sister, write your name on the pouch and throw it up the tree. If it is hung up, it means that the Yu Lao has heard your prayers and will arrange a good marriage for you." Luo looked at Luo as he said, "Biao ao biao. Is biao biao shun shun." Luo said shun shun of shun of shun. Is biao. Luo tian of shun shun. Yang of jis of but ji jiu. Jiu Luo shui Yin also said jiao jiao. Write some and throw them up. Don't be afraid. Shun Miao was somewhat picky as she looked at the basket of red ropes. Since she could not win against Luo Tan and Luo Shui Yin, she could only pick one and write her name on the pouch. When Luo Tan saw this, she said, "Biao, youngest sister, you took too little. This one cannot be thrown up. Take a few more, and these will be enough." Luo Shui Yin also said, "Jiao Jiao, one is not enough." Shun Miao felt that she did not want to throw any of them. Moreover, she was still thinking about the Taoist priest's words. How could she have the mood to do this? Thus, she just casually threw them away. Chapter 707. One will definitely not be able to hang. It is better for you to... Why did it hang? Luo Tan cried out in surprise. Luo Shuiyin was also very surprised. Generally speaking, the more red ropes one threw up, the higher the possibility of it hanging on the branch. If one could not hold it, one would not be able to throw it up. Who knew that Xin Miao casually threw it up and it actually hung up? Not only that, it was a high branch and it was hung so firmly that one feared that it would not fall even if the wind and rain hit. "Biao, youngest sister, you are too lucky." Luo Tan grabbed Xin Miao's arm and said excitedly, Look. That branch is so high that it means that the person that Biao, youngest sister, is going to marry must be a dragon or phoenix among men. The branch is also so stable that it means that this marriage is in the bag and is very good. Who would not like to hear the words of good fortune? Luo Shuiyan's face also bloomed into a smile. Jiao Jiao's throw is not bad. I also said that if you could not hang it up, I would think of ways to help you hang it up. But there are still many branches around this branch. Luo Tan touched her chin and explained in a serious manner. The direction of these branches are all extending towards Biao youngest sister's pouch. What does this mean? This means that Biao youngest sister has more than one marriage. Youngest Gu, this is a good thing. One family has a daughter, and 100 families will seek for it. Future brother-in-law will have to face hardships in the future. Luo Tan said as she laughed. Xin Miao said, Nonsense. But in her heart she thought of that priest's strange words. Green under the eyes, the difficulty of peach blossoms. She could not help but feel uneasy in her heart. Could it be that it was really said correctly? She secretly despised herself in her heart. Now that she did not even see a single peach blossom leaf. Where was the difficulty of peach blossoms? It was just that Luo Tan was talking nonsense, and she had treated it as the truth. This day passed exceptionally quickly, and Luo Tan later hung a lot of her own red ropes up, prayed to Buddha, offered some incense, donated some incense, and ate the vegetarian dishes in the temple before returning. When they returned to the Shin mansion, It was already evening, and everyone was tired after a day, so they all went to rest early. Shen Miao, however, repeatedly thought about the words that priest said in the day. There was a calamity in her life, and a benefactor came to her rescue. Who was that benefactor? Who was the one who asked for 2 divination sticks for her? Or rather, who was the one who asked for a chance to be reborn? Her loved ones from her previous life had almost disappeared before she died. Shen Miao thought that even after she died, there would not be anyone to collect her corpse. Who would be so omnipotent? With such abilities and such a friendship, why did he ask for her to be reborn in this life? He never would have thought that there would be such a person. Shen Miao suddenly remembered something and said, "Song Yang." A black-clothed man suddenly appeared in the room. Shen Miao face-bombed and only felt that Xie Jingxing's secret guards were so elusive that even her mistress would be shocked. She said, "You are not allowed to tell Xie Jingxing about today's matter and what the priest said to me." She added another sentence. "If you tell Xie Jingxing, I will say that you have molested him." Song Yang. Remember that, Shen Miao threatened. Every day in the Ding capital, there were numerous people who were worried about all sorts of trivial matters. Young females were worried about getting married. Young people were worried about obtaining scholarly honors. The elderly were weak, and the young were childish. All of them were bustling about for benefits. Some people schemed for small benefits, some gambled for great wealth, and there were even some who bet their entire family's life, but looked at the whole world. In the imperial family of Mingqi, as emperor when Hui's health deteriorated day by day, the princes became more and more restless. Prince Zhou's faction was arrogant, and Prince Li's faction's actions were not small. Originally, one thought that Number 9 was content with his lot, but in the end, with the Shun family and the Qin country's matter, no matter how one calculated, the crown prince was the weakest. Chapter 708. Emperor Wen Hui sighed, and his brows were shrouded with a layer of declining air. Most likely he had been ill for a long time, as his complexion was not good. Usually when he got angry in the throne room, it was just a forced appearance, as there were quite a number of people eyeing this position covetously. If he were to fall, the court would be in chaos, and one feared that there would be a loophole for those who had intentions to take advantage of it. When one was young, the princes were still young and did not feel anything, but when one grew older, one would be shocked to find out that one was not raising sons but a pack of wolves. Now that the young wolves had grown up, some things became uncontrollable. How is the crown prince's health recently? Emperor Wen Hui asked Su Gonggong, who was beside him. Su Gonggong quickly replied, "Yesterday the Empress saw the crown prince's consort, and the crown prince's consort said that the crown prince's condition had improved, and the imperial physician also said that he would be better after a period of recuperation." Emperor Wen Hui shook his head. The crown prince's health is a problem. As the most legitimate successor to the throne, the crown prince was ill and weak. Even though there was a group of supporters and in the early years he was able to control the situation, but as Prince Zhou's and Prince Li's factions gradually grew stronger, the crown prince's power was suppressed. Especially with the addition of Prince Ding recently, Emperor Wen Hui only felt a headache. Fortunately, even though the crown prince was ill and weak, he had given birth to the imperial grandson early, so that even if Emperor Wen Hui passed away and the crown prince was ill, as long as the imperial grandson was slightly older, then the imperial grandson would be able to succeed the throne. Imperial physician Su's eyes and nose looked down, as if he did not sense Emperor Wen Hui's intention. But his heart was very clear that Emperor Wen Hui was most optimistic about the crown prince. There was no other reason. One was that the crown prince's succession was justified, and the second was that the crown prince's health was not good so relatively. He was the least threat to Emperor Wen Hui. Unlike the other sons, Prince Zhou's faction was so arrogant that they had no one in their eyes. Prince Li's faction looked kind, but had private dealings with many officials. Even Prince Ding, who was the most uninterested in power, had become a dog that would bite but not bark in Emperor Wen Hui's eyes. All of them were like wolves and tigers that Emperor Wen Hui had to guard against. A gust of cold wind blew in from outside the window, causing the Xian paper on the table to roll up. Seeing this, Imperial Physician Su quickly got up to close the window and said, "It's late at night. Your Majesty should sleep early. At the same time, the crown prince that Emperor Wen Hui was talking about was talking to someone. If anyone saw it, they would be shocked. The person who was talking to the crown prince was not anyone else but Prince Ding, Fu Xiaoyi. Of these two people, one was the legitimate crown prince in Emperor Wen Hui's eyes, and the other was the dog that bites but does not bark in the prince's hearts. At this moment, they were sitting at two sides of the table, and Xiao was snuggled up to the green plum wine on the table and was actually talking while boiling the wine. The crown prince said, "Don't take this matter to heart, ninth brother. Imperial father only misunderstood you because he believed the slanderous words of a lowly person. As time passes in the future, the misunderstanding will be resolved and he will naturally treat you the same as before. Ninth brother, why must you give up on yourself?" Fu Xiaoyi shook his head. "Eldest brother, do not know the bitterness in my heart. An unexpected calamity has come, and it is unavoidable. I am an idle person and have no interest in power or wealth. I just want to live a free life. In the past days, other than the matters in my hands, when have I ever interfered in other matters? But when the Shen family's matter happened, Imperial father still suspected me. This father-son relationship is just too cold." Ninth younger brother speak cautiously. The crown prince jumped in shock and quickly stopped Fu Xiaoyi's unfinished words. "There is no lack of parents in the world. You are Imperial father's son, so Imperial father will not do anything to you. If one wants to blame those lowly people." The matter that they were talking about was the matter of the Shun family being searched and confiscated. Even though Emperor Wen Hui hid it strictly, the various princes had informants in the palace. Moreover, with Shun one opening his mouth, the princes were very clear about the real reason of the Shun family's case. It was because of this that the princes looked at Fu Xiaoyi differently. Originally, when the various princes fought for the heir apparent, they were fighting to the death and thought that the ninth prince had no great ambitions and was only happy being an idle Wang Ye. Thus, they did not deliberately target Fu Xiaoyi, who knew that when the matter came out, it was discovered that the other party had a chess piece buried in the dark. The most taboo thing in a fight was that the enemy was in the dark while one was in the light. Especially when it was a fight for the world, it was a big matter that one's life and family's lives would be lost if one was not careful. Prince Ding had been watching the fight in the dark for a long time. Perhaps he wanted to be the fisherman who benefits when the sandpiper and clam fight. Chapter 709. Previously, everyone treated Prince Ding politely, but now, when everyone looked at Fu Xiaoyi, it was a common enemy. Fu Xiaoyi had made too many enemies for himself in a short time. And after Fu Xiaoyi became the brother's target, the first person he looked for was the crown prince. No matter if it was sincere or not, the crown prince was a soft-hearted master in front of everyone and was very kind, but also easily deceived by others. Just like at this moment, he did not ridicule or attack, but turned his head to comfort Fu Xiaoyi. Fu Xiaoyi smiled and said, "Never mind. Let's not talk about my matter and talk about eldest brother's matter." "Me?" The crown prince was somewhat strange. "What matter do I have? Now everyone is fighting till their heads are broken and bleeding. Eldest brother is obviously the most legitimate successor, but was suppressed by others. This is not a good sign." Fu Xiaoyi smiled. "Initially, I did not want to participate in these matters and deliberately avoided it, but did not think that others would come knocking on my door. Since it is so, it is better to take the initiative to come in. I intend to support eldest brother." The crown prince was surprised for a moment, as he did not expect Fu Xiaoyi to say that. He first smiled bitterly before shaking his head. "Ninth younger brother has good intentions, and I will not thank you. It is just that. Ninth younger brother also know my body. If I am strong and healthy, naturally I can fight for it, but with my body, it is a problem how long I can be popular. All these, it is better to leave it to fate." At the end of the words, there was a faint sense of despair. "Eldest brother must not belittle yourself. Eldest brother is born of the Empress and is the eldest son of His Majesty and is also the crown prince. Logically speaking, you are the future master of Ming-Chi. If you were to let it go, one fear that others would laugh at Ming-Chi for not having people to carry on. But I really do not have any ability. The crown prince was somewhat disheartened. The officials see my body and are not willing to follow me. There are not many followers left in the past. Ninth younger brother let me fight, but other than the title of crown prince, what other ability do I have to fight? When Fu Xiu heard it, he poured a cup of wine for himself and the crown prince and took a sip before saying, "So at this time, eldest brother needs a strong assistant." The crown prince shook his head. A good bird chooses a tree to nest in. Why would those capable people choose me? Actually, eldest brother need not think so difficult. Fu Xiu said, "It is indeed difficult to find many powerful people. But to put it simply, as long as he could find a powerful helper, there was no need for other followers. In other words, as long as we find this person, the rest of the officials will also follow Big Brother." Ninth brother, you're right, the crown prince said doubtfully. Formidable great general Shun Xin. Fu Xiu answered. The crown prince paused. Shun Xin holds the military power in his hands, and at the front is the Shun family's army charging, and at the back is the Luo family's army. After leaving the capital for 2 years, his prestige among the commoners did not decrease, and even the Qin country and the Great Liang have to be somewhat courteous. With General Shun's help, everyone would naturally have a higher opinion of the crown prince's strength. People always seek to go up, water flows down, so followers will naturally come after hearing the news. When the crown prince heard Fu Xiuyi's words, he smiled. Ninth younger brother said correctly. But ninth younger brother must know that now General Shun's reputation is illustrious and everyone's favorite. The rest of the brothers also think so. But why did the Shin family army choose me? Because you are the crown prince. Fu Xiu said calmly. If the rest of the brothers choose General Shun, one fear that they will violate Imperial Father's taboo. But eldest brother is different. You are the rightful successor to the Emperor's throne, and also the son that Imperial Father values the most. If General Shun falls into your hands, it would be something that Imperial Father would be happy to see. To others it would be a disaster, but to you it would be a blessing. Such a big military power cannot fall into the hands of an outsider. The crown prince no longer laughed because Fu Xiuyi's words were very reasonable. Emperor Wen Hui was suspicious, for example Prince Zhou, or Prince Li, or even Prince Ding. Fu Xiu, if he obtained Shin Xian's support, it would be a disaster for them as emperor when Hui would look at them with unfriendly eyes. But the crown prince was different. Emperor Wen Hui despised the crown prince's power for being too weak and unable to balance the other princes, not to mention that the crown prince was the future crown prince and emperor Wen Hui's heart. So naturally, he hoped to have a strong arm. But why would General Shin choose me? The crown prince still shook his head, as if he did not agree with Fu Xiuyi's words. He said, participating in these matters is risky. General Shun does not need to wade into these muddy waters, and he can live freely. Fu Xiu smiled and said, General Shun does not need to choose eldest brother, but young lady Shin can. The crown prince was surprised. Fu Xiu lightly said, the fifth young lady of the Shun family, the pearl of General Shun's palm, should be at the age of engagement. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.